I killed my own son. That's what my wife told the judge. That's what she told my family. That's what she whispered to every person at that funeral while I stood there drowning in my own guilt, watching them lower my baby boy into the ground. And for 2 whole months, I believed her. If you've ever been betrayed by the two people you love most in this world, you might feel this one. And if you love these true life tales of pain, redemption, and justice, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and drop a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. It matters to me. It really does. Because I'm about to tell you something I've never spoken out loud to another living soul. My name is Arthur Washington. I'm 73 years old now, but back in 2019, I was 57 and living in Richmond, Virginia. Had a good job as a regional manager at a logistics company. Had a beautiful wife named Vanessa. Had a son named Marcus who loved superheroes and couldn't swim yet but was fascinated by water. And I had a brother named Jerome who I would have died for. This is the story of how I lost everything and how God used a car thief to show me who really killed my son. Let me take you back to March 2019. I'd just gotten the promotion I'd been chasing for 8 years. Regional manager. Big title. Bigger paycheck. Vanessa screamed when I told her. Marcus, who was 6 then, didn't understand what it meant, but he knew Daddy was happy, so he jumped around the living room pretending to fly like Superman. "We're moving up, baby," Vanessa said that night, her arms around my neck, eyes shining like I just bought her the moon. "We're finally moving up." She was 34 then. I was 57. People always looked at us sideways when we went out. This older black man with a young, beautiful woman who turned heads everywhere she went. They probably thought I was rich, or she was using me, or some other ugly thing people think when they don't know your story. Truth is, I met Vanessa at church. She was volunteering at the food bank. I was dropping off donations. She had this laugh that made everyone around her smile. And when she looked at me, she didn't see an older man. She said she saw someone solid, someone safe. "You're like a tree," she told me on our 3rd date. "Strong roots. You don't move when the wind blows." I married her 6 months later. Best decision I ever made, or so I thought. The new house came with the promotion, well, the ability to afford it anyway. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, big backyard in the West End neighborhood, and the piece that made Marcus lose his mind, an in-ground swimming pool. "Daddy, Daddy, can we swim right now? Can we? Please?" Marcus bounced on his toes, his little hands pressed against the sliding glass door, staring at that pool like it was Disney World. "Not yet, baby boy," I said, kneeling down to his level. "We gotta put up the safety fence first. And you gotta learn to swim. Deal?" "Deal." He threw his arms around my neck so hard I almost fell backward. Vanessa watched us from the kitchen, and I remember thinking she had a strange look on her face. Not happy, exactly. More like calculating. But I shook it off. We were tired from moving. Everyone's emotions were all over the place. We moved in on a Saturday. By Sunday, Jerome showed up. My brother Jerome was 54, 3 years younger than me, and the kind of man who never quite found his footing in life. He'd been married twice, divorced twice, worked construction jobs that never lasted more than a year, lived in a cramped apartment in South Richmond, and drove a 15-year-old Chevy that made concerning noises. But he was my brother, my blood. And when our mama died 10 years earlier, I promised her I'd always look out for him. "Man, look at you," Jerome said, walking through the front door like he owned the place, arms spread wide. "Big house, Arthur. You really made it, huh?" "We got blessed," I said, giving him a hug. "Come on, I'll show you around." I showed him everything. The master bedroom with the walk-in closet, Marcus's room with the superhero posters we just put up, the kitchen with the granite countertops Vanessa had been so excited about, and finally, the backyard with the pool. Jerome stood at the sliding glass door, staring at that water, and said something I should have paid more attention to. "Man, this is the kind of life I always wanted." "Your time's coming, bro," I said, clapping his shoulder. "Keep pushing." He looked at me then and smiled, but his eyes weren't smiling. Vanessa brought out sweet tea, and we sat in the backyard while Marcus played in the grass, not too close to the pool. Jerome and Vanessa talked and laughed. I thought nothing of it. She was friendly. He was family. This was normal. You coming to church with us next Sunday? Vanessa asked Jerome. You know me and church don't get along too well, Jerome said with a chuckle. Maybe it's time to try again, she said softly. God's always got space for family. The way she said family made something in my chest tighten, but I ignored it. Jerome left around 5 that evening, said he had work early Monday morning. I walked him to his car. Thanks for having me, man, he said. And listen, if you ever need help with the yard or the pool or anything, I'm around. You know that, right? Appreciate it, bro. He drove off, and I went back inside to a home that felt perfect. But perfection's just another word for blind. Here's something you need to know about me. I forget things, always have. Even as a kid, Mama used to shake her head and say, Arthur, the Lord gave you a good brain, but he forgot to install the reminder app. It wasn't Alzheimer's or dementia or anything medical. I got tested once. Doctor said I just have a wandering mind, always thinking 3 steps ahead, which means I miss what's right in front of me. Vanessa knew this about me. She'd known it since we started dating. Arthur, baby, can you pick up milk on your way home? Sure, honey. I get home with everything except the milk. Arthur, don't forget Marcus has a doctor's appointment Thursday at 3. I got it. Thursday at 3, I'd be in a meeting, completely oblivious. It drove her crazy at first, but she learned to work around it. She'd text me, call me, set reminders on my phone, leave sticky notes on the steering wheel of my truck. I married a brilliant man with a Swiss cheese memory, she'd joke to her friends. But after we moved into the new house, the forgetting got worse. I was juggling new responsibilities at work, learning new systems, managing a bigger team, traveling to warehouses across 3 states. My mind was everywhere except where it needed to be. Arthur, can you pick up the dry cleaning? Forgot. Arthur, we need to call the pool company to schedule the safety fence installation. Forgot. Arthur, can you grab diapers for Marcus on your way home? He wasn't in diapers, but you get the point. I'd forget the small stuff constantly. Vanessa stopped laughing about it. Do you even care about this family? She snapped one evening in late April after I forgot to pick Marcus up from his friend's house. She'd had to leave work early to get him. Baby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Work is just work. It's always work. Her voice was cold. Maybe if you cared half as much about us as you do that job. She didn't finish the sentence, just walked away. Marcus looked up at me from the couch, confused. Is Mommy mad at you? Yeah, buddy, she is, but it's okay. Daddy messed up, that's all. I swear I did, but life kept moving fast, and my brain kept moving faster, and the little things kept slipping through, like noticing how often Jerome started showing up. At first, it was once a week, then twice. Then I'd come home from work, and his beat-up Chevy would be in my driveway. Hey, man, Jerome would say, all smiles, sitting at my kitchen table with a glass of my sweet tea. Just dropped by to check on y'all. You don't have work? I'd ask. Got laid off last week, but I got something lined up. Don't worry. He never seemed worried. He seemed comfortable, too comfortable. One evening in early May, I came home around 6:30. Jerome's car was there again. Seth, I walked in and heard laughing from the living room, Vanessa's high, bright laugh and Jerome's deep chuckle. They were sitting on the couch, close. Not touching, but close. Hey, I said from the doorway. They both looked up, startled, like I'd caught them at something. Hey, baby. Vanessa jumped up, smoothing her shirt. I didn't hear you come in. Just got here. I looked at Jerome. What's up, bro? Nothing, man. Just keeping Vanessa company while you're out there making money. He grinned, but something about it felt wrong. I should have said something then. Should have asked why he was here so much. Should have trusted my gut. But I didn't, because Jerome was my brother and Vanessa was my wife. And I was the man who forgot things. Maybe I was forgetting how often he'd really been coming around. Maybe I was overreacting. Where's Marcus? I asked. Upstairs playing, Vanessa said. Dinner's almost ready. Jerome stayed for dinner, sat at my table, ate my food, joked with my son, and I smiled through all of it, ignoring the whisper in the back of my mind that said, something's wrong. But I didn't listen to whispers back then. By mid-May, Jerome was at my house 4, sometimes 5 times a week, always when I wasn't home. I'd pull into the driveway and see his car, or I'd get home and Vanessa would mention, oh, Jerome stopped by earlier. Earlier could mean anything. Could mean he was there for 10 minutes. could mean he was there for 4 hours. I started paying attention, started making mental notes. Tuesday, Jerome's car in the driveway at 3:45 p.m. when I pulled up. Thursday, Vanessa mentioned he dropped by around lunch. Saturday, I ran to Home Depot for an hour. Came back, Jerome was in my backyard with Vanessa, both of them laughing by the pool while Marcus played in the grass. Didn't know you were coming by, I said, trying to keep my voice level. Just happened to be in the neighborhood, Jerome said with that easy smile. Vanessa said y'all needed help moving the patio furniture. You know I'm always happy to help out. I looked at Vanessa. She wouldn't meet my eyes. That night, after Marcus was asleep and Jerome had left, I sat on the edge of the bed and said, "We need to talk." About what? Vanessa was at her vanity, taking off her makeup, her voice carefully neutral. About Jerome. Her hand stopped mid-wipe. What about him? He's here a lot. He's your brother, Arthur, and he's going through a hard time. I thought you'd want us to be supportive. I do, but I struggle to find the words. It just feels like, I don't know, it feels like something's off. She turned around slowly, her face unreadable. Off how? He's here when I'm not. He's here all the time. And you two seem what? Her voice was sharp now, like a blade. Close. The word hung in the air like smoke. Vanessa stood up, her eyes locked on mine, and said, "Are you seriously suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying. You're saying I'm cheating on you with your brother. Her voice was rising. That's what you're saying, Arthur. No, With Jerome, your broke, jobless, barely keeping it together little brother? You think I'd throw away what we have for that? The contempt in her voice when she said that should have made me feel better. Should have made me realize I was being paranoid. But it didn't. I just think he should maybe visit less often, I said quietly. So now I can't be nice to your family? Vanessa's eyes were filling with tears. Real tears. I open our home to him because you told me to always look out for him. I make him feel welcome because that's what good wives do. And this is what I get? Accusations? Baby, I'm not accusing. Yes, you are. She was crying now, and I felt like the worst man alive. I have been nothing but faithful to you, Arthur. Nothing but loving and supportive. And you stand there and look at me like I'm some kind of. She couldn't finish. She grabbed her pillow and walked out of the bedroom. I sat there alone, feeling like an idiot. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was seeing things that weren't there. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me like it always did, forgetting the real stuff, inventing fake problems. The next morning, I apologized. I'm sorry, baby. I was tired. I wasn't thinking straight. You've been amazing to Jerome, and I appreciate it. She accepted the apology, but something had shifted between us, a coldness that hadn't been there before. Jerome kept coming around, and I kept my mouth shut. Because I'd already looked crazy once. I wasn't about to look crazy twice. June 12th, 2019, a Wednesday. It was supposed to be a normal day. I was supposed to go to work, come home, kiss my wife, play with my son, and never think about how fragile life really is. But God had other plans. I woke up at 5:45 a.m. to the sound of my alarm. Vanessa was already up, moving around the bedroom, getting dressed. Morning, baby, I mumbled, still half asleep. Morning. Her voice was flat. We still weren't quite right after the Jerome conversation 3 weeks earlier. I got up, showered, put on my work clothes, gray slacks, blue button-down, the tie Vanessa had gotten me for Christmas. Marcus was still asleep. He didn't have to be at his summer day camp until 8:30, and Vanessa would handle that. I went downstairs, grabbed coffee, checked my phone for emails. Had a big meeting at 10 a.m. about warehouse logistics. My mind was already at work before my body left the house. Arthur, I looked up. Vanessa was standing in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. Yeah, the pool barricade. What about it? She sighed, that exasperated sigh that told me I'd forgotten something again. We talked about this last night. The safety fence company can't come until next week, so we need to keep the temporary barricade closed whenever Marcus is outside. Remember? Right? Yeah, I remember. Can you close it before you leave? Sure, baby. I got it. She gave me a look, that look that said she didn't quite believe me. Arthur, I'm serious. We can't leave it open. Marcus has been asking to go near the pool every single day. I know. I'll close it. She stared at me for another few seconds, then nodded. Okay, I'm going to wake him up and get him ready. She walked away. I finished my coffee, checked my phone again, replied to an email, and then I grabbed my keys, grabbed my briefcase, and walked out the door. To work. At 2:17 p.m. my phone rang. I was in the middle of that logistics meeting. Charts and spreadsheets all over the conference table, my boss mid-sentence about quarterly projections. Sorry, I muttered, glancing at the screen. It was Vanessa. I almost didn't answer. She knew I was in meetings all afternoon, but something made me step into the hallway and pick up. Hey, baby, I'm in a... Arthur! Her scream went through me like lightning. Arthur, oh God, Arthur, please! Vanessa, what's wrong? What happened? It's Marcus. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Arthur, it's Marcus. He fell the pool. My heart stopped. What? He fell in the pool, Arthur. I called 911. They're here. They're trying to... Oh, God, baby, please wake up, please. The phone went dead. I don't remember leaving the building. Don't remember getting in my truck. Don't remember the drive home. All I remember is sirens, fire trucks, ambulance, police cars, all parked in front of my beautiful new house with the perfect backyard and the pool that was supposed to bring us joy. I ran through the open front door. Paramedics were in my living room, crowded around something small on the floor. Marcus. His little body was wet, his lips blue, his superhero t-shirt clinging to him. They were doing CPR, pumping his chest, breathing into his mouth. Sir, you need to step back, someone said, grabbing my arm. That's my son! Sir, please let them work. I shoved past whoever was holding me and fell to my knees beside Marcus. His eyes were closed. His skin was gray. Baby boy, I whispered, touching his cold hand. Baby boy, daddy's here. Daddy's here. Wake up, please wake up. Sir? The lead paramedic looked at me, and I knew from his face. I knew before he said it. Sir, I'm sorry. We did everything we could. He's gone. No, I'm so sorry. No. I pulled Marcus into my arms, his little wet body against my chest, and I screamed. I screamed until my throat bled. Somewhere behind me, Vanessa was crying. Someone tried to pull Marcus away from me. I wouldn't let go. Mr. Washington. A police officer knelt beside me, her voice gentle. Mr. Washington, we need to take him now. No, sir, please. They peeled my son out of my arms. They put him on a stretcher. They covered him with a white sheet, and they took him away. I stayed on that floor, soaking wet from Marcus's body, staring at nothing. A detective approached, asked questions. I couldn't hear him. Finally, he said, Mr. Washington, do you know how your son accessed the pool? I looked up at him, my brain struggling to process words. What? The pool barricade was open. Do you know why? And that's when I remembered. Arthur, the pool barricade. I'll close it. Arthur, I'm serious. I know. I'll close it. I'd walked right past it, got in my truck, drove to work, and left my son to die. It was me, I whispered. Vanessa's scream came from somewhere in the house, raw and animal and full of hate. You forgot. Arthur, you forgot. I asked you twice. You promised. She appeared in the doorway, held back by two officers, her face twisted in agony. You killed him. You killed our baby. This is your fault. All your fault. And she was right. They say grief comes in 5 stages. For me, it came in 1, guilt. Marcus's funeral was on June 18th, 6 days after he drowned. They dressed him in his favorite superhero shirt, the one with Captain America on it. He looked like he was sleeping. I couldn't cry at the funeral, couldn't feel anything except the weight of what I'd done pressing down on my chest like concrete. Vanessa sat 3 rows away from me, wouldn't look at me, wouldn't speak to me. Her family was there, her mother, her sister, her cousins. They all looked at me like I was a murderer. Jerome was there too, stood in the back, came up to me after the service and said, I'm so sorry, man. So sorry. I couldn't even respond. The police ruled it an accidental drowning. No charges filed. Just a tragedy caused by parental negligence. My negligence. They closed the case, but Vanessa didn't. 2 weeks after we buried our son, she moved out, packed her things while I was at work. I'd gone back to work because I didn't know what else to do with the screaming in my head. Took half the furniture, left a note on the kitchen counter. I can't look at you anymore. My lawyer will contact you. Her lawyer contacted me 3 days later. She was suing me for emotional damages, claiming I'd caused her severe psychological harm through my negligence, claiming I'd destroyed her life. She was asking for $600,000. My lawyer said she'd probably get less, maybe $200,000, maybe $300,000. She got $400,000. The judge said, and I quote, "While this was a tragic accident, Mr. Washington's repeated failure to follow basic safety protocols, despite multiple warnings from his wife, constitutes gross negligence that directly resulted in the death of a child and severe emotional trauma to the plaintiff." Vanessa cried on the stand, told the whole courtroom how many times she'd asked me to close the barricade, how I'd promised, how she trusted me, how I'd killed our son. I didn't fight it. How could I? She was right. The $400,000 came from the life insurance policy I'd taken out when Marcus was born, combined with our savings, combined with a lien against the house. I signed the papers, watched my bank account drain to almost nothing, watched Vanessa walk out of that courthouse with a check and not look back. I moved through August in a fog, stopped going to church, stopped answering calls from friends, stopped eating most days, started drinking every day. Whiskey, vodka, didn't matter. Anything that made the screaming in my head quieter. Jerome called a few times. I didn't answer. My boss called, put me on indefinite leave, said I needed time to heal. I wasn't healing. I was dying from the inside out. By mid-August, I'd stopped leaving the house except to buy more alcohol. The house that was supposed to be our dream, the pool in the backyard that I couldn't look at, the empty room upstairs with superhero posters still on the walls. I spent most of my time in the living room, drunk, staring at nothing, thinking about rope. There was a ceiling fan in the bedroom, strong enough. I researched it online one night, too drunk to feel ashamed. How to tie the knot, how long it would take, whether I'd feel pain. Probably not. Probably less pain than I felt now. I thought about Marcus, about holding him in the hospital the day he was born, so tiny, so perfect, his little hand wrapped around my finger. I thought about teaching him to ride a bike, about him running to hug me when I got home from work, about his laugh. I thought about how he'd never laugh again, because of me. On September 3rd, I bought rope from Home Depot. On September 7th, I tied the noose. On September 8th, at 9:47 p.m., I stood on a chair in my bedroom, rope around my neck, ready to step off, and someone knocked on my door. I stood on that chair for what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 seconds. The rope was tight around my neck, not choking me yet, just resting there, waiting for me to make the choice. My hands were shaking, my whole body was shaking. I thought about Marcus one more time, wondered if I'd see him wherever I was going, wondered if he'd forgive me. "I'm sorry, baby boy," I whispered into the empty room. "Daddy's so sorry." I closed my eyes, took a breath, started to step forward. Knock, knock, knock. The sound exploded through the silence like a gunshot. I froze, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. Knock, knock, louder this time, more insistent. "Richmond police, is anyone home?" Police? My mind couldn't process it. Why would the police be here? Had someone seen me buying rope? Was that illegal? Did they somehow know what I was about to do? "Knock, knock, Mr. Washington, we can see your truck in the driveway. We just need a few minutes of your time." I reached up with shaking hands and loosened the noose from around my neck, pulled it over my head. My legs felt like water as I stepped down from the chair. The rope fell to the floor. I walked downstairs like a ghost, my heart still pounding, my mind completely blank. When I opened the door, 2 police officers stood on my porch. A younger black woman, maybe 30, with kind eyes, and an older white man with gray hair and a tired face. "Mr. Washington?" the woman said. "Yes." "I'm Officer Denise Morris. This is Officer Frank Gutierrez. We're sorry to bother you so late. We're investigating a series of vehicle thefts in the area, and we're canvassing the neighborhood. Do you have a few minutes?" I stared at them. Vehicle thefts. They weren't here for me. They didn't know about the rope upstairs. They didn't know anything. "Sir?" Officer Morris's voice was gentle. "Are you all right?" Yeah, I'm fine. What do you need?" Officer Gutierrez pulled out a small notebook. "There have been 7 cars stolen in this neighborhood over the past 3 weeks. Very organized operation. They're hitting driveways at night, probably using some kind of signal jammer to bypass alarms. We're trying to determine if anyone has security camera footage we could review." Security cameras. "I don't have any cameras." I said automatically. "None at all? Ring doorbell, backyard security, anything like that?" "No, nothing." They both nodded, making notes. Officer Morris looked at me more closely. Mr. Washington, forgive me for asking, but are you sure you're okay? You look like you've been through something. I almost laughed. I've been through something. That was one way to put it. My son died, I said flatly. 3 months ago. I'm fine. Her face softened immediately. Oh, I'm so sorry. I will get out of your way. They turned to leave, and then something inside me, something I can't explain even now, made me say, my neighbor has cameras. They stopped. Which neighbor? Officer Gutierrez asked. The Hendersons, next door. I pointed to the house on the left, a brick 2-story with a well-maintained lawn. Dave Henderson. He's got cameras all over his property, back, front, sides. He's real particular about security. Thank you, Mr. Washington. We appreciate it. They walked toward the Hendersons' house. I started to close my door, and then it hit me. The Hendersons' backyard camera. The one that pointed toward their fence line. The fence line that ran along my backyard. The backyard with the pool. My hand froze on the doorknob. I thought about June 12th, about Marcus, about Vanessa screaming that she was the only one home when it happened. But Jerome had been coming around so much. What if? No, that was crazy. I was grasping at straws because I was drunk and suicidal and looking for someone else to blame. But what if? I stood in that doorway for 5 full minutes, my mind racing. The police had already moved on to the Hendersons' house. I could see them talking to Dave on his porch. I closed the door, went back upstairs, looked at the rope on my bedroom floor, and for the first time in 2 months, I thought, not yet. Not until I know. I didn't sleep that night. Lay in bed, stone cold sober for the first time in weeks, staring at the ceiling and thinking, if Jerome had been there that day, if Vanessa lied about being alone, why? Maybe she was embarrassed. Maybe she didn't want to admit Jerome was over again. Maybe she thought it would complicate things. Or maybe there was something else. By the time the sun came up on September 9th, I'd made a decision. I needed to see that footage. I showered. Actually showered. First time in days I'd done more than stand under cold water. Put on clean clothes. Brushed my teeth. Looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the hollow-eyed man staring back. You're probably wrong, I told my reflection. You're probably about to make a fool of yourself. But I had to know. At 9 a.m., I walked next door and rang the Hendersons' bell. Dave Henderson was 62, retired from the electric company, and the kind of neighbor who knew everyone's business but in a friendly way. His wife Carol had brought me a casserole after Marcus died. I'd never eaten it, just let it rot in my fridge, but the gesture had been kind. Dave opened the door, surprise crossing his face. Arthur, hey man, how you holding up? I'm managing. The lie felt thick in my mouth. Listen, Dave, I know the police were here last night about those car thefts. Yeah, they were. Asked to see my camera footage. I gave them what I had from the past few weeks. Right. Well, I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. Sure, man, anything. I took a breath. Your back camera, the one that faces the fence line, would it be able to see my backyard, my pool area? His expression shifted slightly. Yeah, probably. Why? I need to see the footage from June 12th. Silence. Dave's face changed, understanding mixing with something that looked like pity. Arthur, buddy, I don't think that's a good idea. I need to see it, Dave. Why? It's just gonna hurt. You don't need to watch. Please. My voice cracked. I need to know what happened. I need to see it. He studied me for a long moment, then sighed. Come on in. Dave's home office was in the basement, a neat space with a desktop computer, filing cabinets, and a wall of monitors showing live feeds from his 6 security cameras. I keep everything archived for 6 months, he said, sitting down at the keyboard. After that, it deletes automatically unless I save it. June 12th would still be there. He pulled up the software, typed in the date. What time you looking for? Start from noon, run it until after the ambulance left. He gave me a chair. I sat down, my hands gripping my knees so hard my knuckles went white. The footage started playing, black and white, slightly grainy but clear enough. I could see the corner of my backyard, the fence, and beyond it, my pool. The barricade was open. I could see that even from this angle. 12 p.m., nothing happening, just an empty backyard. Dave fast-forwarded. 12:30 p.m., still nothing. One fill empty. A figure appeared in frame. I sat forward. Stop. Go back to normal speed. Dave clicked the mouse. I watched as Jerome walked into my backyard from the sliding glass door. Jerome. He stood by the pool, hands in his pockets, looking around like he was waiting for something. That's your brother, right? Dave asked quietly. Yeah. 2 minutes later, Vanessa came outside. She was holding Marcus's hand. My heart stopped. Marcus was wearing his superhero shirt, the Captain America one. He was smiling, talking to his mother, though I couldn't hear the words. Vanessa said something to Jerome. Jerome nodded, and then Vanessa walked Marcus closer to the pool. Oh, God, I whispered. Arthur, maybe we should. Don't stop it. On the screen, Vanessa knelt down next to Marcus, seemed to be talking to him. He was shaking his head. He didn't want to go near the water. I could tell. He'd always been scared of the pool. But Vanessa kept talking, kept smiling, kept moving him closer to the edge. Jerome stood about 10 feet away, watching. Marcus was at the very edge now, Vanessa's hand on his back, and then she pushed. Not hard, just a gentle push. Marcus tumbled forward into the water with a splash. I stopped breathing. Marcus came up, flailing, his little arms splashing, trying to swim, but he didn't know how. And Vanessa stepped into the pool with him. No, I said. No. She reached down into the water, put both hands on Marcus's head, and pushed him under. Marcus's arms thrashed. His little body fought. The water churned. Vanessa held him down. Jerome stood there, watching, not moving. 10 seconds passed, 20, 30. Marcus's arms stopped moving. Vanessa kept holding him under for another 30 seconds, making absolutely sure. Then she pulled her hands away and let my son's body float to the surface, like face down in the water. She climbed out of the pool, soaking wet. Jerome walked over to her, put his hand on her shoulder, and they both stood there looking down at Marcus's body for a full minute before Vanessa finally started screaming. The footage showed her running back into the house, to call 911, to play the part of the devastated mother who'd found her son too late. Jerome slipped out through the side gate, disappearing from frame. Dave stopped the video. The basement was silent except for my breathing, fast and shallow and full of broken sounds I didn't recognize as coming from me. Arthur. Dave's voice was far away. Arthur, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. My wife, my brother, they murdered my son. Not an accident. Not my fault. Murder. I don't remember leaving Dave's house. Don't remember walking back to mine. The next thing I knew, I was sitting on my living room floor, phone in my hand, my entire body shaking so hard I thought my bones would crack. They killed him. Vanessa and Jerome killed my baby boy, drowned him on purpose, made me think it was my fault. Let me live in hell for 3 months believing I killed my own son, took $400,000 from me, and walked away free. My vision went red at the edges. My chest felt like it was splitting open. I couldn't tell if I was breathing or dying or both. I thought about the rope upstairs, but not for me. For them. No, I needed to think, needed to prove it, my phone was still in my hand. I opened Instagram. Don't know why. Maybe just to see if Vanessa was even still on there. Maybe to see her face one more time before I found her profile. At Vanessa Renew, she changed her profile picture. It was her and Jerome, both smiling, his arm around her waist, my brother, my wife. I scrolled down to her posts. The most recent one was from 3 days ago, September 5th. It was a photo of a diamond ring on her hand, big, gaudy, expensive. The caption read, "When God closes one door, he opens another. Healing is possible. Love is possible. Starting fresh with my soulmate. New beginnings, blessed, engaged life." 347 likes, comments full of congratulations from people who didn't know, who didn't understand. I clicked on the photo. Jerome had commented, "Can't wait to spend forever with you, baby. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Vanessa had replied with heart emojis. I scrolled further. There were older posts from August, from July, photos of them together, at restaurants, at the beach, at what looked like a hotel room. All posted while I was drunk and broken and wanting to die. All posted while they were planning their new life together, with my son's life insurance money, with the settlement they'd gotten from me, with blood money. I looked at the dates again, looked at how close they were in the photos, and I realized they'd been together the whole time, probably long before Marcus died, probably since the first time Jerome showed up at our house and Vanessa laughed at his jokes. They'd been planning this. Maybe not the murder, not at first. Maybe at first, it was just an affair. Just two people who wanted each other and didn't care about marriage vows or brotherhood or anything sacred. But then I got the promotion, got the new house, got the life Jerome always wanted. And Vanessa had a 6-year-old son who would make their new relationship complicated, who would need child support if they ran off together, who would tie her to me forever. Unless there was an accident, unless the boy died, and unless it was all my fault. I remembered how many times Vanessa had reminded me about the pool barricade that morning, how she'd made such a point of it, how she looked at me with those eyes that said she didn't believe I'd remember, because she needed me to forget, needed me to leave it open, needed me to be the one to blame so no one would ever suspect her. And it had worked. God help me, it had worked perfectly. I looked at the Instagram post again, at that diamond ring, at those heart emojis, at the comments from people saying, "You deserve this and so happy for you." Something inside me snapped, not broke, snapped, like a bone setting wrong after a fracture, hard and sharp and permanent. I took screenshots, every single photo, every comment, every timeline post showing their relationship, all of it. Then I called Dave Henderson. "Arthur?" He answered on the first ring. "Man, are you okay? I've been worried. I need a copy of that footage." "What?" "The footage from June 12th. Can you put it on a USB drive for me?" Silence. Then, "Arthur, what are you going to do?" What I should have done months ago. My voice didn't sound like my own. It sounded cold, dead. "I'm going to make them pay." September 10th, 2019, 8:47 a.m. I walked into the Richmond Police Department headquarters carrying a USB drive, my phone, and a heart full of rage that felt like acid in my veins. The detective who'd handled Marcus's case was named Williams. Detective Sarah Williams. 40-something, sharp eyes, methodical. She'd been professional but sympathetic during the investigation, called it a tragedy, said she had kids too, couldn't imagine. She'd closed the case as an accidental drowning. I asked the front desk officer for her, waited in the lobby for 20 minutes, didn't sit down, couldn't sit, just stood there, gripping that USB drive so hard I'm surprised it didn't shatter. "Mr. Washington?" I turned. Detective Williams stood in the doorway to the back offices, looking concerned. "What can I do for you?" "I need to reopen my son's case." Her expression shifted. "Mr. Washington, I understand you're grieving, but the case was thoroughly investigated. It was ruled an accidental. It was murder." The word hung in the air. She studied me carefully, probably trying to figure out if I was dangerous or just broken. "Why don't you come back to my office and we can talk?" I followed her through the maze of desks and offices to a small room with a window, a computer, and stacks of files everywhere. She closed the door. "Okay, tell me what's going on." I put the USB drive on her desk. "My neighbor has security cameras. One of them captured my backyard the day Marcus died. I need you to watch it." "Mr. Washington, please." My voice cracked. "Please just watch it." She looked at me for a long moment, then picked up the drive and plugged it into her computer. I'd already loaded the specific clip. All she had to do was press play. She did. I watched her face as she watched the screen. Watched her expression change from professional skepticism to confusion to absolute horror. The footage played. Marcus being led to the pool, being pushed in, being held under until he stopped moving. When it ended, Detective Williams sat back in her chair, her face pale. "Jesus Christ," she whispered. "That's my wife," I said. My voice was shaking now. "And that's my brother. They killed my son, made it look like an accident, made me think it was my fault, and then she sued me for $400,000. Williams was already picking up her phone. "I need to make some calls. Mr. Washington, I'm going to need you to wait here." The next 3 hours were a blur. More detectives came in. I gave a statement, showed them the Instagram posts, explained the whole timeline. Jerome's constant visits, the affair I'd suspected but ignored, the lawsuit, everything. They made copies of the footage, verified it with Dave Henderson, pulled phone records, pulled bank records. At 1:23 p.m., Detective Williams came back into the interview room where I'd been waiting. "We're issuing arrest warrants for Vanessa Washington and Jerome Washington," she said. "Murder in the first degree for Vanessa, accessory to murder for Jerome. We have units heading to their locations now." I felt something like relief crash through me, mixed with a grief so deep I couldn't breathe. "Thank you," I managed to say. "Mr. Washington?" She sat down across from me. "I owe you an apology. We should have looked deeper, should have questioned the scene more carefully. I'm sorry." "You didn't know. She's good at lying." "They both are." At 3:45 p.m., my phone rang. "Unknown number," I answered. "Arthur?" Vanessa's voice was high and panicked. "Arthur, what did you do? What did you tell them?" I closed my eyes. "I told them the truth." "What truth? What are you talking about?" "I saw the video, Vanessa." Silence. "Then, what video?" "The one where you drowned our son, where Jerome watched you do it. My neighbor's security camera caught everything." I heard her breath catch, heard the moment she realized it was over. "Arthur, baby, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You wanted my brother. You didn't want Marcus, so you killed him and blamed me." No, that's not. It wasn't supposed to." She was crying now, but not like she'd cried at the funeral. This was panic crying, desperate crying. "Arthur, please, you have to help me." "Help you?" "Tell them it's a misunderstanding. Tell them the camera angle is wrong. Arthur, please. They're outside my apartment right now. They're saying I'm under arrest, Arthur. You have to." "I hope you rot in hell." I hung up. 3 minutes later, Detective Williams came in and said, "They're both in custody." I put my head in my hands and cried for the first time since the funeral. The trial started on March 3rd, 2020, 5 months after their arrest. The courtroom was packed. News crews outside, reporters everywhere. The case had made national headlines. Mother drowns own son, frames husband, collects settlement. I sat in the front row every single day. Vanessa looked different, thinner. Her hair wasn't done, no makeup. She wore a plain blue dress that made her look small and defeated. Jerome sat beside her at the defense table. He wouldn't look at me. The prosecution played the video on day 2. The entire courtroom went silent as they watched Vanessa hold Marcus underwater, watched him struggle, watched him die. 3 jurors cried. The judge had to call a recess. Vanessa's lawyer tried to argue that the video was unclear, that the angle was misleading, that what looked like murder was actually my wife trying to save Marcus after he fell in. But the medical examiner testified, said the pattern of bruising on Marcus's head and shoulders was consistent with being held down, not pulled up, said the amount of water in his lungs indicated he'd been submerged for several minutes, far longer than would occur from a simple drowning. Then they played Vanessa's 911 call. My son fell in the pool. Please help, please." But the timestamp showed she'd waited 3 full minutes after Marcus stopped moving before making that call. 3 minutes to make sure he was dead before calling for help. On day 6, Jerome's lawyer tried to cut a deal, said Jerome had nothing to do with the planning, said he just showed up that day and froze when he saw what Vanessa was doing, said he was a victim too. But the prosecution had phone records, texts between Vanessa and Jerome going back 8 months, conversations about getting away from Arthur, about starting fresh, about how the kid complicates everything. One text from Vanessa, dated June 10th, 2 days before Marcus died, said, "I can't do this anymore. I need to be free. I need us to be free." Jerome had responded, "I know, baby. Soon. I promise." On day 11, I took the stand. I told the jury everything, about forgetting things, about the pool barricade, about blaming myself, about the rope around my neck the night before I learned the truth. "Did you kill your son?" the prosecutor asked me. No. My voice was steady. I thought I did. For 3 months, I lived with that guilt. I was ready to die because of it. But I didn't kill Marcus. They did. I looked at Vanessa. She was staring at the table, tears running down her face. "Why do you think they did it?" the prosecutor asked. "Because my son was in the way of their new life together. Because as long as Marcus was alive, Vanessa would always be tied to through custody and child support. Because they wanted my money, my house, my life. And Marcus was just collateral damage." On day 14, Vanessa finally testified. She admitted everything, broke down crying on the stand and told the whole truth through sobs. She and Jerome had been having an affair for 10 months. Since March 2018, they'd fallen in love, wanted to be together. But she was married with a child and no money of her own. "I didn't know what to do," she sobbed. "I felt trapped, and then Arthur got the promotion and the new house, and I saw how happy he was. And I I wanted that happiness for me and Jerome. I wanted a fresh start. So you killed your son, the prosecutor asked coldly. Vanessa covered her face with her hands. I didn't think of it that way. I thought it would be quick. I thought he wouldn't suffer. You thought you'd get away with it. Silence. Why did you sue Arthur for emotional damages after you murdered his son? I needed money to start over with Jerome, and I knew Arthur would give it to me because he thought it was his fault, because I made him think it was his fault. By asking him repeatedly to close the pool barricade that morning, knowing he had a history of forgetting things. Yes. You set him up. Yes. The courtroom erupted. The judge had to bang his gavel 6 times to restore order. Jerome never testified. His lawyer advised against it. But it didn't matter. On March 18, 2020, after 3 hours of deliberation, the jury came back. Guilty of first-degree murder, guilty of fraud, guilty of conspiracy, guilty of accessory to murder, guilty of conspiracy. Vanessa's sentencing was on April 2nd. I was there. The judge looked at her with disgust and said, "Mrs. Washington, you committed the most heinous act I've seen in my 20 years on this bench. You murdered your own child, a helpless 6-year-old boy, for money and convenience. You framed your husband for your crime and allowed him to suffer with guilt that nearly killed him. You showed no remorse until you were caught. The only appropriate sentence is life in prison without the possibility of parole." Vanessa sobbed. "Please, no, please." Additionally, you are ordered to return the $400,000 settlement to Arthur Washington, though we all know no amount of money can undo the damage you've caused. Jerome got 30 years, eligible for parole after 20. The judge told him, "You stood by and watched a child be murdered. You are just as culpable as the one who held him under. You disgust me. I watched them both get led away in chains, felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, no closure, just empty." Epilogue. The life I rebuilt. That was 5 years ago. I'm 73 now. Living in North Carolina, small house near the mountains, no pool. The state returned most of the $400,000 to me after Vanessa was convicted. I used some of it to pay off the house. Donated the rest to an organization that provides grief counseling to parents who've lost children. I couldn't keep it. It was blood money. I sold the Richmond house in 2021. Couldn't stand to be there anymore. Every room was full of ghosts. I go to therapy twice a month. Been doing that since 2020. My therapist says I have PTSD and survivor's guilt. Says I'm doing remarkably well considering what I went through. Some days I believe her. I don't drink anymore. Haven't touched alcohol since the day I found out the truth. I go to church again. Different church, small Baptist congregation where nobody knows my story. I sit in the back and listen to the hymns, and sometimes I cry, and sometimes I feel something close to peace. I have Marcus's ashes in an urn on my mantle. Talk to him sometimes. Tell him about my day. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I love him. I don't know if he can hear me, but I hope he can. Vanessa writes me letters from prison. Has been for 3 years now. I don't read them. Just return them unopened. Jerome stopped writing after the first year. I think about them sometimes. Wonder if they hate each other now. Wonder if they blame each other. Wonder if Vanessa ever thinks about Marcus's face when she held him under that water. Probably not. People like that don't think like normal people. I've made peace with a lot of things. Not everything. I don't think you ever really make peace with losing a child, but enough to keep living. I learned something from all this. Something I want you to hear, wherever you're watching from. Your guilt will blind you to the truth. I was so convinced I'd killed Marcus, so buried in my own shame, that I almost died believing a lie. I almost let 2 murderers get away with it. If that police officer hadn't knocked on my door, if I hadn't been standing on that chair at that exact moment, if I hadn't asked about the cameras, they'd be married now, living on my money, free, and I'd be dead. Sometimes God saves you in the strangest ways. Sometimes justice takes longer than you think you can survive, but it comes. I don't know what happens when we die. Don't know if there's really a heaven or a hell or just nothing. But I hope, God, I hope, that Marcus is somewhere safe, somewhere he can run and play and never be hurt again. And I hope that when my time comes, I'll see him one more time. Daddy, he'll say, his little voice clear and bright. Daddy, you found me. Yeah, baby boy, I'll say. I found you. Until then, I keep living. I keep waking up every morning. I keep putting one foot in front of the other. Because Marcus deserved better than what he got in life. The least I can do is honor him by actually living mine. That's my story. That's the truth I carried alone for 3 months, and the justice I fought for, and the peace I'm still looking for. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing. Thank you for caring about a 6-year-old boy named Marcus Washington who deserved to grow up but never got the chance. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Tell me about someone you've lost. Tell me you're still fighting, because we're all still fighting. And as long as we're still breathing, there's still hope. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this story if it moved you. Not for me, for Marcus, so his name isn't forgotten. So his death meant something. So the world knows what happened to my beautiful boy. My name is Arthur Washington. This is my testimony. This is my truth. And I'm still here. Thank you for watching. If you or someone you know is struggling with grief, guilt, or thoughts of suicide, please reach out. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. You are not alone.